Once again into the Apocrypha, my dear friends. It is new play day on Shakesyear, and we are going to start in on Thomas Lord Cromwell, which, yes, is about that Thomas Cromwell, who lived before Shakespeare was even born and was executed before Shakespeare was even born, but close enough that this could have been like a story that everybody was still familiar with. But there is a lot of debate as to whether or not Shakespeare actually wrote this one, and nobody's come to any sort of conclusions about it. They can't even really decide when the play was written. It was first registered in about 1603, but it could have been written as early as like 1582. And when it was published in quarto format, the second quarto said that it was performed by Lord Chamberlain's men, who became the King's men, who Shakespeare was involved with. And on the cover, it attributed the authorship to W.S., who could be William Shakespeare, but it could also be any one of a half a dozen other people who had those same initials, or it could have been somebody else entirely that wrote it. So the scholars, as they have gone through, have looked at it and they're like, this likely wasn't written by Shakespeare, but they can't decide who it was that actually probably did write it. So to this day, we still don't know. We don't know exactly when it was written, and we don't know who exactly it was written by. But we do know that it is about Thomas Lord Cromwell. So let's dig in. We're going to get to hear from him today, him himself, to kick off Act 1, Scene 2. But real quick first, we got to cover Act 1, Scene 1. It's a very short scene where we have Hodge and a couple other blacksmiths hanging out in front of their blacksmith shop. They all work for the elder Cromwell, so Thomas Cromwell's father. And they're showing up for work that day. They're like, yeah, we should get going to work. And they're like, you know, who knows if our master is going to come down and talk to us today or not. But we do know that we will likely not see the younger Cromwell, because he's just reading all the time. He's just studying all that time. Like, that kid's gonna go crazy because he reads so many books. And then they decide that, yes, they need to go to work. So this is just establishing, it's not like a super exciting kickoff to a play. I guess if you wanted to do this, maybe you could do like a dance number with a whole bunch of blacksmiths and their anvils and their hammers, whatever, throw in some music to make it a little more exciting. But basically all it's doing is establishing that these people work for the Cromwells, and that the young Cromwell, Thomas Cromwell, reads a lot and studies a lot. So Act 1, Scene 2, we're somewhere in the same vicinity, like the Cromwell's property, sort of near the blacksmiths where they are working. And Thomas Cromwell comes in and he says, "Good morrow, morn, I do salute thy brightness. The night seems tedious to my troubled soul, whose black obscurity binds in my mind 1,000 sundry cogitations. And now Aurora, with a lively dye, adds comfort to my spirit that mounts on high. Too high, indeed, my state being so mean. My study, like a mineral of gold, makes my heart proud, wherein my hopes enrolled. My books is all the wealth I do possess, and unto them I have engaged my heart. O learning, how divine thou seems to me, within whose arms is all felicity. Peace with your hammers, leave your knocking there. You do disturb my study and my rest. Leave off, I say, you mad me with the noise." So this is a fun introduction to Thomas Lord Cromwell. He comes in and he's saluting the day and he's greeting the day with gusto, and he's letting us know that his mind is always churning with 1,000 different ideas. But now the day has shown up and it's bringing him comfort, and he's excited. And, you know, what is this day going to bring? He's going to get to study some more, and he's going to get to spend some more time with his books, which are his most treasured possessions. But then the blacksmiths start working, and he starts to hear the pounding of the hammers on the anvils. And he's like, learning is the best thing. And he's like, will you be quiet already? I can't study with all this blacksmithery going on. Like, you're making too much noise. I can't study. I can't concentrate. So the blacksmiths are all like, well, but this is our job and we need to do this. We work for your dad, and if we don't do this, we won't get paid. And he's like, I don't care, just be quiet, just be quiet. So then the elder Cromwell comes out and he's like, why is nobody working around here? And they're like, well, Thomas wouldn't let us work. He says that we're disrupting his study. And the elder Cromwell is like, Thomas, you and your study, you're never going to get anywhere with that. You're running, and how dare you? Like, I've given you everything when you're growing up, and here you are telling my men that they're not allowed to work. Like, what is your deal? They're not making their wage and everything. And so Thomas is like, here, I will pay them to not work. Take the money so that I can study. And his father's like, and this is how I raised you. I give you everything, and you're frivolous with your money. You just spend it on whatever. Like, what kind of a son did I raise? And Thomas is like, you know what? I'm going to make something of myself one day. I'm going to be powerful and wealthy, and instead of this little cottage in which we live, I'm going to build a grand palace here, this huge house, the likes of which the neighborhood has never seen, kind of thing. And his father's like, you're going to build a house? Ha, right, yeah, you wouldn't know the first thing about building a house, and you're never going to get enough money to be able to afford to build a house. You're worthless with all of your studying, and this is ridiculous. And he tells his blacksmiths to get back to work. So they go back to work, and the elder Cromwell leaves, and the younger Cromwell, Thomas, is going to have a moment by himself on the stage to share a monologue, which we will hear tomorrow. So I will see you then for that. Mwah.